स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Dear friends, I am going to give you a very good video on Aham and Aham Vritti. Aham Vritti means ego. See, thoughts arise from the self, that is our Atma, that resides in the spiritual heart. These thoughts, when carry on arising continuously, they constitute the mind. And the basic thought, that is, I am the body thought, this basic I thought is called ego. And this basic thought, that is the I am the body, which give rise to the other thoughts. First thought which arise from our Atma is the Aham Vritti, or the I am the body thought. Rest all other thoughts follow the I am the body thought, or the basic thought, or ego. So dear friends, source for the mind, source for the intellect, and source for the ego, or to sum up, source of mind and all its modifications is our Atma, which resides in the spiritual heart. This you have to remember. So Aham Vritti is the I am the body thought, basic thought, and this gives rise to other thoughts. If there is no basic thought, there will not be any other thought. If there is no basic thought, means ego is dead, mind is dead, and you are a self-realized person. Now, let us see how this question answer session with Maharishi. Devotees putting the question to Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharishi, and Maharishi replies and dispels their misconceptions and misunderstanding about the mind, ego, intellect, and all the modifications of mind. So I start the video. Devotee puts the question: how can any inquiry initiated by the ego reveal its own unreality? Maharishi: the ego's phenomenal existence is transcended when you dive into the source wherefrom arises the Aham Vritti. Devotee: but is not the Aham Vritti only one of the three forms in which the ego manifests itself? Yoga Vasishtha and other ancient texts describe the ego as having a threefold form. Maharishi: it is so. The ego is described as having three bodies: the gross, the subtle, and the causal. But that is only for the purpose of analytical exposition. If the method of inquiry were to depend on the ego's form, you may take it that any inquiry would become altogether impossible, because the form the ego may assume are legion. Therefore, For purpose of jnana vichara, you have to proceed on the basis that the ego has but one form, namely that of aham verti, devotee. But it may prove inadequate for realizing jnana. Maharishi, self-inquiry by following the clue of aham verti is just like the dog tracing its master by his scent. The master may be at some distant, unknown place, but that does not at all stand in the way of the dog tracing him. The master's scent is an infallible clue for the animal and nothing else, such as the dress he wears or his build and stature, etc. counts. The dog holds on to that scent undistractedly while searching for him, and finally it succeeds in tracing him. Devotee, the question still remains the question still remains why the quest for the source of aham virti as distinguished from other virtis should be considered the direct means to self-realization. See, remember, virti means thoughts, vicharas. Maharshi, the word aham is itself very suggestive. The two letters of the word, namely A and H, ha, are the first and the last letters of the Sanskrit alphabet. The suggestion intended to be conveyed by the word is that it comprises all. How? Because aham signifies existence itself. Although the concept of I-ness or I-amness is by usage known as aham virti, it is not really virti like the other virtis of the mind, because unlike the other virtis which have no essential interrelation, the aham virti is equally and essentially related to each and every virti of the mind. I already told you all other thoughts, they follow the basic thought, that is I am the body. This I am the body is known as the aham virti. You have to remember. Without the aham virti, there can be no other virti. Means without the I am the body thought, there will not be any other thought. But the aham virti can subsist by itself without depending on any other virti of the mind. Aham virti is therefore fundamentally different from other virtis. Why? Because aham virti is independent, other virtis they depend upon this aham virti. So then the search for the so then the search for the source of the aham virti is not merely the search for the basis of one of the forms of the ego, but for the very source itself from which arises the I amness. In other words, the quest for and the realization of the source of the ego in the form of aham virti necessarily implies the transcendence of ego in every one of its possible forms. The devotee, considering that the aham virti essential comprises all the forms of the ego, why should that virti alone be chosen as the means for self-inquiry? Mm, Maharishi, because it is the one irreducible datum of your experience, because seeking its source is the only practicable course you can adopt to realize the self. The ego is said to have a causal body, but how can you make it the subject of your investigation? When the ego adopts that form, you are immersed in the darkness of sleep. See, who am I? Who, that is the query, am existence. And this I, in who am I is the ego. You have to remember who am I? Who, query, am existence. I is the ego. This I is the false self. This I is the basic thought. This I is the basic thought, that is the thought which says, I am the body, I am the mind, I am so and so. So, this basic thought is ego. We have to remember. Devotee, but it is not the ego in its subtle and causal forms too, intangible, to be tackled through the inquiry into the source of Ahamvirti, conducted while the mind is awake. Mercy, no, the inquiry into the source of Aham Virti touches the very existence of the ego. Therefore, the subtlety of the ego's form is not a material consideration. Devotee, while the one aim is to realize the unconditioned pure being of the self, which is in no way dependent on the ego, how can inquiry pertaining to the ego in the form of Aham be of any use? Maharshi, from the functional point of view, the form, activity, or whatever else you may call it, it is immaterial since it is evanescent. The ego has one and only one characteristic. The ego functions as the node between the self, which is pure consciousness, and the physical body, which is inert and insentient. The ego, therefore, called the Chit Jada Granthi. Granthi means nerve. Chitta, subconscious mind. Jada means non-living. Granthi means nerve. In your investigation into the source of Aham Virti, you take the essential Chit aspect of the ego, and for this reason, the enquiry must lead to the realization of the pure consciousness of the self. Devotee. What is the relation between the pure consciousness realized by the jnani and the I amness which is accepted as the primary datum of experience? Maharshi. The undifferentiated consciousness of pure being is the heart or herdem, which you really are, as signified by the word itself. Herit plus ayam, heart am I. From the heart arises the I amness as the primary datum of one's experience. By itself, it is Suddha Sattva in character. It is in this Suddha Sattva Savarupa, that is uncontaminated by Rajas and Tamas, that is the I appear to subsist in the Jnani. Devotee, in the Jnani, the ego subsists in the sattvic form, and therefore it appears as something real. Am I right? See, when the ego is in the sattvic state, it is self, Atma itself, because the source for ego is Atma. And when this ego is pure, means it has emerged into Atma. Simple. Maharshi, no. The existence of the ego in any form, either in the jnani or ajnani, is itself an appearance. But to the ajnani who is deluded into thinking that the waking state and the world are real, the ego also appears to be real. Since he sees the jnani act like other individuals, he feels constrained to posit some notion of individuality with reference to the jnani also. Devotee, how then does the aham virti function in the jnani? Maharshi, it does not function in him at all. The Jnani's Laksha aim is the heart itself, because he is one and identical with that undifferentiated pure consciousness referred to by the Upanishads as the Prajna. Prajna is verily Brahma, the absolute, and there is no Brahma other than Prajna. Devotee, how then does ignorance of this one and only reality unhappily arise in the case of Agyani? Mercy. The Agyani sees only the mind, which is a mere reflection of the light of pure consciousness arising from the heart. Of the heart itself he is ignorant. Why? Because his mind is extraverted and has never sought its source. The root cause of the ignorance is because our mind is always directed outwardly. So it is always away from the Atma, it is away from divinity. So that is the problem. So ego causes the thoughts, and these thoughts, when they are having their outwardly direction, we call mind and modifications of mind like ego and all. When the same mind is directed inwardly, so it becomes pure, it becomes the part of Atma, it is Atma itself. So we have to remember these basic notions. Devotee, what prevents that infinite, undifferentiated light of consciousness arising from the heart from revealing itself to the Ajnani? Maharshi, just as water in the pot reflects the enormous sun within the narrow limits of the pot, even so the vasanas or latent tendencies of the mind of the individual acting as the reflecting medium cast the all-pervading infinite light of consciousness arising from the heart and present in the form of a reflection, the phenomenon called the mind. Seeing only this reflection, the Ajnani is deluded into the belief that he is a finite being, the Jiva. See, you have to remember, Jiva means when our Atma is existing in this body with the help of prana. So this Atma with the help of prana is embedded in this body, living in this body is known as the jiva. So jiva and atma, same thing, only thing, when our atma is confined in this body, we call it jiva, otherwise it is atma only. See, when atma leaves this body, we say the human being has gone. His pranas are gone because Atma and pranas they leave the body simultaneously at the same time. So Atma and prana they coexist in the body. No prana means no Atma, no Atma means no prana. Prana and Atma together is known as Jiva. Simple. People are confused. What is Atma? What is this Jiva and all? So, when this Atma is residing in our heart and it is always coexisting with the prana, so this is known as Jiva. If the mind becomes introverted through inquiry into the source of aham virti, the vasanas become extinct, and in the absence of the reflecting medium, the phenomenon of reflection, namely the mind, also disappears, being absorbed into the light of the reality, that is the heart, that is the Atma. This is the sum and substance of all that an aspirant needs to know. What is imperatively required of him in an earnest and one-pointed inquiry into the source of Ahamvarti, devotee. But any endeavor he may make is limited to the mind in the waking state. How can such inquiry conducted in only one of the three states of the mind destroy the mind itself? Mercy inquiry into the source of Ahamvarti is no doubt initiated by the sadhaka in the waking state of the mind. It cannot be said that in him the mind has been destroyed, but the process of self-inquiry will itself reveal that the alternation or transmutation of the three states of the mind as well as the three states themselves belong to the world of phenomena which cannot affect his intense inward inquiry. Self-inquiry is really possible only through intense introversion of the mind. What is finally realized as a result of such inquiry into the source of aham virti is verily the heart as the undifferentiated light of pure consciousness into which the reflected light of the mind is completely absorbed. Devotee, for the jnani, then there is no distinction between the three states of mind. Maharshi, how can there be when the mind itself is dissolved and lost in the light of consciousness? For the jnani, all the three states are equally unreal, but the ajnani is unable to comprehend this because for him the standard of reality is the waking state, whereas for the jnani the standard of reality is reality itself. This reality of pure consciousness is eternal by its nature and therefore subsists equally during what you call waking, dreaming, and sleep. To him who is one with that reality, there is neither the mind nor its three states, and therefore neither introversion nor extraversion. His is the ever waking state because he is awake to the eternal self. His is the ever dreaming state because to him the world is no better than a repeatedly presented phenomenon of dream. His is the ever sleeping state because he is at all times without the body am I consciousness. Devotee. Should I then consider Sri Bhagwan as talking to me in a waking, dreaming, sleeping state? Maharshi, because your conscious experience is now limited to the duration of the extraversion of the mind, you call the present moment the waking state, whereas all the while your mind has been asleep to the self, and therefore you are now really fast asleep. Devotee, to me, sleep is a mere blankness, Maharshi. That is so because your waking state is a mere effervescence of the restless mind. What I mean by blankness is that I am hardly aware of anything in my sleep. It is for me the same as non-existence. Mercy, but you did exist during sleep. If I did, I was not aware of it. Mercy, you do not mean to say in all seriousness you ceased to exist during your sleep. Laughing. If you went to sleep as Mr. X, did you get up from it as Mr. Y? Devotee, I know my identity perhaps by an act of memory. Maharshi, granting that, how is it possible unless there is continuity of awareness? Devotee, but I was unaware of that awareness. Maharshi, no, who says you are unaware in sleep? It is your mind. But there was no mind in your sleep. Of what value is the testimony of the mind about your existence or experience during sleep? Seeking the testimony of the mind to disapprove your existence or awareness during sleep is just like calling your son's evidence to disapprove your birth. Do you remember I told you once previously that existence and awareness are not two different things but one and the same? Well, if for any reason you feel constant to admit the fact that you existed in sleep, be sure you were also aware of that existence. What you were really unaware of in sleep is your bodily existence. You are confounding this bodily awareness with the true awareness of the self, which is eternal. Prajna, which is the source of I amness, ever subsists unaffected by the three transitory states of mind, thus enabling him to retain your identity unimpaired. Prajna is also beyond the three states because it can subsist without them and in spite of them. It is that reality that you should seek during your so-called waking state by tracing the Ahamvyarti to its source. Intense practice in this inquiry will reveal that the mind and its three states are unreal, that you are the eternal, infinite consciousness of pure being, the self or the heart. So here I end this very very important video. Thank you my dear friends for watching and listening this wonderful video. Please subscribe my channel, like, comment and share the video. Thank you so much for your patience. Namaste.